But that was on the report. Okay, we're gonna come to order in 1 minute. 1 minute, folks, if we can get settled.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Hey, Fred. Good to see you. Welcome back. Good to see you, my friend. Glad to have you back. Good to see you. I had whispering in my ear, you know, some things can't be shared with wives. Okay, 1 minute. This is great. So,
David, the only thing I have is the, hi there, good morning, how are you? Hi, Dave, good morning. The only thing I have are the car bumpers that need to be painted and re-stenciled for the parking spots, A, B, C, D. Yeah. And probably some of them repainted. That's right.
okay, folks,
Yeah, and we
we're
have
gonna
the
start in
stencils.
30 seconds. Please grab a seat.
Because we used to have some.
John Harris. I'm back for a little bit.
John
I'll be
Harris
back
is
again.
back.
Are we ready?
You can keep talking, folks. We gotta get the mic.
How are you?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Everybody, good morning. Good morning. So nice to see so many people. We have our Fred Fillions in the back. We got our fashion statement. Miss Susie Robinson is in the middle. we got the Tat Man, Mr. Steve Nuremberg over here, Mr. Ryan. We got lots of people here. So it's great to see you all. Welcome to the meeting. We're going to start this by a pledge of allegiance. Richard, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Please remain standing, and if you would please spend one moment of silence for all of our first responders, folks that put themselves in harm's way, as well as any of our ill or recently passed residents. Thank you. Okay, well, we can get right to it. Barbara, would you like to call the roll, please?
President Lynn Tartaglia,
Here.
Vice President Barbara Milano, Secretary Barbara Kowalski, Treasurer Janine Menard, Directors Richard Gigliotti.
Here.
Oh, and Bill Hooks.
Started then, if we can. We're going to start, first of all, we're postponing the reading of the minutes from the last meeting. Those minutes will be read at the November meeting instead. And so we'll get right into it. We'll get to the president's report. I think that the treasurers and the directors have quite a few things to report on this month, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in getting into details, but it is budget time. It is request for proposal time, which we've taken seriously this year in a way not seen, at least in the last few years that I've been around, and it's been terrific, enormous amount of work. We do have there was a request that we recognize that the office is getting a fair number of complaints about folks not picking up after their animals. If you see it, if you could send something, a text or an email to any one of the board members, but certainly to me with the responsibility for grounds and any description of the person. I had a good go last month with a Section 2 person. Yeah, we had the police here, and I ended up with she's got a no trespass. She gets arrested if she comes here again. So I'm trying, I'm only one person, but whatever you can do to please ask your neighbors to pick up after their dogs, to report to the office if someone isn't doing that, I think it's important. And we may have to talk about furnishing some dog stands with some poop bags or something, just for our own best interests. You wouldn't think you'd have to do it, but, it's a different world today. So let's get right into the treasurer's report, because money is the most important thing most of the time, right?
Good morning. All right, a couple of things. First, we reviewed the third quarter. And I got it. Third quarter review shows us in good standing. We have some items that have not been spent, but there is a lot of work in the next 3 months that we expect to be done that will utilize that money. So we're in good shape for the budget at this time. One thing that has taken place is we've had a reserve study was conducted to ensure that each reserve has enough money as it should for the replacement at the time that it's to be done. One of the accounts had some money withdrawn from it, and we have to replace that money. So the study is complete. It shows perhaps a slight increase, that we have a lack of funds there, but that will be forwarded to the board of directors for their review and acceptance. So whether they follow the recommendation it's totally up to the board.
I just want to make sure, I always get nudgy about these things. It's not that we're short money. It's just the law requires that if you take money out of reserves to use it for stuff, that you have to put a plan together to put it back. And that's what we're talking about. And we're not talking about millions of dollars. We're talking about stuff that was voted on by the board to fix big ticket items over the last couple of years.
Right. This was voted on by the board. I don't know which month, maybe within the last year, is that we would be fully funded. So that's the reason why the review and we're looking to see, make sure that we are.
For the reserves, what is happened, like she said, a couple months, but it's been a couple of years. We voted at a annual meeting to make sure that the reserves are fully funded because we were underfunded so poorly years ago. And we have kept it that way. But when you take money, they alluded to taking the money out. We took the money out for the painting. Now we have to figure out how much the painting is for next time. And if it costs more money, we have to put, it in, and we put it in every month for as many years as we do. And then by the time we have to paint again, we have all the money. So that's how it works. It's not like we used it for something. We used it for the painting or the roofs or whatever. So we're just replacing it.
All right. Any further questions? Okay. The other thing, the last thing I wanted to report on is, like Lynn had mentioned, is that there have been a few, I think at least 3 requests for proposals that went out looking for competitive bids on, we've had the lawns and maintenance, we've had the pool service, and we had the doors, installment of doors for next year. So all of those are coming back this week, and we're reviewing them, and perhaps over the weekend, and by next week, we'll know whether to award who's getting what. And that's basically where we're at. Anything more? Thank you. Definitely. No, that's the biggie. The budget committee has been meeting since September 14th. We've had several meetings. I don't know how many. And we're making progress. And so with the review of the study, that will fill in a few more line items for us. And we're getting there. So we'll have another meeting on Tuesday, and we will be ready to present something to the committee as soon as we can, when it's needed, at least.
Motion to accept. Barbara, motion by Richard, second by PK. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much, Janine. Can we move on to buildings and infrastructure, Mr. Sherwood?
Good morning. Okay, so as Janine stated, we do have some 3 proposals that went out. They've come back for me anyway. 3 of them went out. Like I said, K Klein Windows was 1, Joe Rhodes Precision Crafters was 2, and A Christian was the 3rd proposal. We got those back. We evaluated them, and I think I at least would like to suggest probably Joe Rhodes as I suggest. So I'd like to make a recommendation that maybe Joe Rhodes do our 2022 doors, impact door installations.
Unit number, please.
Hi, my name is Tim, 242D. It's nice that we got proposals, but did we dig any recommendations or referrals or anything to that matter? See how qualified they are. Qualifications are most important that I'm paying for, not the price. Okay, thank you.
You don't have to take by law, you don't have to take the lowest bid. But if you have good reasons not to take it, then you can go to the next lowest bid, you can go to the higher bidder, by law. That's set up by law.
So money is one of the criteria. Quality of service, recommendations, experience, knowledge, customer service, all of those things are important criteria as well. And if we have to pay a little bit more to get better service and higher quality and more satisfaction, then that's what we're going to recommend in most cases. In this case, this happens to be someone who's worked with the community on a number of projects over the years and has worked in the other communities in the sections that has a very strong positive, reputation. But it probably, I think it's a good idea, Tim. We do ask for them in the RFPs, or at least we did ask for them in the
references.
RFPs. And so I think if any motion that's made to accept someone should be contingent upon a review of at least two. If you ask for three, but at least two positive recommendations for that person's service.
And all these came in, all this paperwork came in. There was myself, Janine, and Barbara Kay. We went down, sat down, looked at all the criterias. They met the criterias, and now it was just based on all the questions that were asked. And now we're making a motion.
We don't need to explain. Several of the people in some of these RFPs have worked for us. The person that Dave's recommending is someone who's actually done work for the community, and that counts as a recommendation. But to get one or two from outside of our community also makes sense, because it's good business practice.
I'll go ahead and get that.
To accept the recommendation for selection on the doors by Dave, contingent upon review of recommendations. Second, Barbara Kay, second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Oh, could we please all silence our cell phones? Let's put them on silent. All right, Dave, if you would. Guess I need.
No worries. Okay, so moving on. Facial repair is on schedule. That we're making all of our repairs on the east side, and then once that's completed, we're looking at completing it probably by the beginning of November, and then starting next year, we're going to, like, hopefully January timeframe or so. We're going to start on the east side and get all the fascia on that side that's damaged repaired. Other business. I've been looking into paving. It's getting the pavement around here sealed, putting on a sealer, which will enhance and make the roads look a lot better. I'm anticipating also that being probably done next year as well. Of course, when we get yes, the roads for the community, but I'm still getting prices and stuff like that. So nothing.
But I guess I'm surprised to hear you thinking about doing the entirety of the community rather than some of the community. That's a lot of
Well,
money.
that's, there's another thing that's based on how much it's gonna cost.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so the plan is still in the
Yeah, the
early
plan, yeah.
stages.
There's a couple ways we can go. The first plan was called milling and then laying down the whole pavement. That's, from what I understand, very expensive, over 100,000. I'm like, well, that could be, that's where you start breaking it up. But for sealing, it's not that expensive. So once I get the prices and stuff like that, then I'll bring that to the board. We can all discuss it and then make a decision if we can do everything at one time, or maybe cut it in half. But that sealing compared to relaying down is a lot cheaper. The roads are not in bad condition. Maybe we should do is get another microphone, put it right in the
Susie,
middle.
140C. I would like
Yeah.
a roving one, yeah. Anyway, yeah,
We'll get her one.
anyway, yeah, when are the reserves ready? Is it every 10 years that we redo the whole roads? We've got reserves for the roads. So why are we spending, I mean, is it close to getting the roads done? Are we wasting this money when we could wait till the whole thing gets done?
I can give an opinion on
Yeah,
that.
I
We
don't
talked
know for
about it in
sure.
advance. Number one, it's been on the priority list for the last 3 years to get the roads evaluated. And rather than wait till they start really break down, which is usually that life cycle, waiting until they get, start, the edges start falling off and the cracks start, and then you got to mill it, and then you got to resurface
to
it
do
and
the whole
reseal
thing.
it. We sort of said, let's at least look into whether there's proactive maintenance that could be done, like resealing, that would extend the life of the roads and keep them in better shape for the long term, right? That's a conversation we had.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that was
That's
why.
all I care
Like
about
I
is
said,
that we're
it's
not
just getting
wasting
prices
little
right
bits
now.
When we could do the whole thing. Okay.
Thank you.
My experience with the roads is that several years ago, I did contact Hard Drive, okay, and 2 other companies, I believe. And Hard Drive was the first one that said to me, hey, we'd be happy to do this, to coat your roads. But they're only going to last 2 years, maybe 3 years. And he said, to me, that's an expense that you don't need to do. And then I talked to 2 other people, and one other one told me the same thing. But if you go through the rest of the communities, okay, you'll find that 4, 5, I believe, and 6 did this, and it lasted. It looked beautiful for about 2 years, and then it started to turn white again, and then eventually 6 redid their whole thing. So they threw this money away, and now I'm talking to other sections now, and they're saying the same thing. No, they will not do it. They will not do this until there's time to repave them or do whatever has to be done at the end of the time. And I was just looking on the budget because it gives the last page of the budget gives the reserve amounts and when they're due, how much longer they will last. So I'm
Made any decisions about this, Richard? I'm far less concerned with the fade than I am with making sure that those roads, which are a very high price ticket, stay in as good a shape as they can for as long as they can. The other part of this conversation with Dave that he's exploring was to look at whether or not we should be doing, as we get up to the time when the roads will need to be done, whether there's an option to do it in sections rather than all in one fell swoop because of the cost and issues. Now, we don't have all the answers to those yet. That's why Dave's looking into it, but Dave's just letting us all know that he's looking into it, and we'll let him finish his work and then he'll come back. And if you have any advice or knowledge or experience that you want to share with them, as always, we appreciate your knowledge and ability to contribute. Okay. Dave, anything else?
No, I'm done.
to accept, Dave? Richard moves, Janine seconds, all in favor, aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, pool and clubhouse. So Bill is not available for a short period of time to manage this piece of the community. He had requested, suggested, and recommended a partner to help him. And we do that, for those of you who don't know, we do that often. If a board member is going to be gone for a month, we ask that they find someone to partner with to make sure that that work doesn't fall by the wayside, and that someone can cover that area. And Bill recommended, and we accepted, that Santina Rizzo be his board partner on the pool and the clubhouse. And I know she's done a ton of work with not always a lot of thank yous. Thank you, Santina. But we'd like to hear from Santina, if you wouldn't mind. Can we give you a microphone, please?
Thank you, Rich. Hi, everyone. Well, right now, I'm just working with the board members to get bids on the upkeep and maintenance of the pool pump room, and the Symbiote heaters that we have. 14 subcontractors were contacted. 3 RFPs have been submitted to the board for review, and we're just waiting for the approval from the board on who will be awarded that contract. And that's about it. Yes, yes. Yes, the bids are due today. So I don't really know if anybody has sent theirs in, but there are 3 people who are only bidding on the service of the pool, not the Symbiote heaters. But that's very important because it's 3 times a week. It's cleaning and maintaining the pool, the chemicals, the pump room, keeping the filter going, the chlorination, the pH level, all of that is included in the bid. So I'm sure that the board's going to get those and make their final decision.
Send you something or that you will be included in that review.
Okay, as soon as you know when you're doing that, I'll do my best to be there.
Can I answer that?
Susie,
The
you don't
DCR
even have your roaming mic, Susie.
No, the light has gone out and has been doing that. It'll come back on for a while, then it goes out. And they're working now on to find out what is causing that. Okay, because Tom was away on vacation for a couple of weeks, and he started before he left, and he's still working on that. And before we put out any money, we want to find out what the heck is causing it.
So who's working on it? Well, that's in any time something's not working, the first step is to figure out what's not working, but I just want to make sure it's not lagging. If Susan says it's been out for months and months.
He's been working on it, and he calls me to find out if we've had any shortages, or we've had any surges, or we had anything like that. So he's going through and working on it.
Don't forget to send those messages to Santina, because she should really take that off your plate and manage that piece.
If I may, I'd like to go on with what you may not know yet. Okay, when you were away, Symbiote came in, and there was a broken line on the primary heater. Okay, so we never got a quote but eventually we got a quote. I called them, we got a quote, and they came out on Wednesday and put in a reader to try and determine why we're blowing out so many compressors or heaters. Okay, so they installed that one on Wednesday. They have difficulty getting materials, okay, to repair anything. And they're due today to repair their broken pipe and everything else that's going on. So then I had a call from Janine asking me about the floor, and I called.
Oh,
Good.
I just want to finish on the pool. I would really, so I know you just have a new injury and you don't know where that's going, and you take care of yourself first. But I really, really, really would love to have a holiday season starting November 1st, certainly through, I mean, I'd like to have it all year round, but I would really like to make sure the holiday season, so November 1st through January 1st, when people have family and friends and kids and everything here, to have that pool temperature working properly, like consistently. Because last year I was stunned. I didn't come to the pool for whatever reason a lot of times. And I showed up and, it 1 minute's ice cold, and it takes a long time for those guys to get here to fix it. And then in the summertime, you could take a cup and steep tea bags in it, and it takes them a while. And so Richard has tried to, maneuver them, but Richard's not at the pool all the time. And I'd really appreciate it if you could sort of bird dog that for us, and certainly until Bill comes back, and let us know if you're not getting like a strong response from them in a timely manner.
How's this? Okay. I have done a lot of research on these heaters. They're not your normal heaters that a lot of people have. They're called geothermal heaters. And yes, they do save us a lot of money in energy bills compared to gas or electric heaters. The problem with our heaters, I believe, is that we are at the end of their lifespan. And I have recommended that a reserve be put together to replace these heaters, because at this point, we have spent in the last 3 to 4 years the amount of money to replace them. So getting to the bottom of why they break down because they're old and they've come to the end of their lifespan. So it's just like an old car. It will run forever as long as you want to keep fixing it. And that's where the problem is with the heaters.
We're all glad you used a car as the analogy.
Yeah. Right. So the board will review my comments on this and make a decision if they want to replace these heaters, and the price of them is going to be approximately, I'm going to say, around $18,000. So I'm thinking a reserve. If we could say we're going to replace them in 3 years and put some money away for them, that would be great. But
We have a reserve.
right.
I mean, that,
Well, then it's
Sure.
great, because instead of continually repairing these, because there's so many intricate parts to them. There's the pump that brings the water in from the lake. There's the glass. There's the compressor. At one point, things do deteriorate that they need to be replaced. So maybe for next year or this upcoming year, to stay on contract with Symbiont perhaps would be a good idea, because they're so old and it's difficult to find people who are experienced enough to service these units, because I have spoken to a few pool people and most of them didn't know how to service them. So we're kind of like in a jam with that, and we have to stay with Symbiont because there is no one else that wants to do the service. So it's a decision the board needs to make when they want to replace them, but it should be within the next year or so. A plan should be put together for that.
Yeah. See, I've got,
Richard's first.
yeah, I agree. I agree with Santini that we need to be looking at replacements. But right now, what we're looking at is in 2019, we had 3 compressors, 3 heaters go down in 2019. And they're trying to determine what caused that. That's why they're putting a reader, a regulator on here to do that. But the rest of the, I agree. I think we need to look into, and what's it going to cost? Maybe $12,000, $13,000, $14,000?
No, it's going to be up there around 18,000.
Yeah, so it's
Well,
going
but
to be up there.
we have
But-
replaced those compressors since 2019.
But since 2019, we've paid out 246, probably closer to $7,000, $8,000 just for
We have
those 3
spent
compressors, and they've always given us some
Thank
credit.
you.
But
$16,000 we have spent on repairing these heaters that cost 18,000 to buy new. We have to stop at some point.
oh yeah, that's what I said. I
Yeah,
agree
we
with you. I
definitely
think
have
we need to
stop
look
sinking
into.
money into them.
I think we need to look into it because they were 12 years old when all of this started to occur. So
And we don't have to go with Symbiont. There are other people
Other
that could
companies.
submit bills that do these geothermal heaters. You know, so the thing is to be educated about how the heater works, what it does, its lifespan, the cost, and then compare it to the money that we've already invested in these heaters and the course of action that we want to take going further.
absolutely,
It-
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you because there are other sections that didn't even realize that we heat and cool. And we can set the heaters to just heat, we can set it to just cool, or we can set it to heat and cool. So if it goes up to 88, the cooler comes on and it drops it down to 85, and that's where they're set. One of the biggest problems is people go back in there and they see the 2 units and they see an 87 on the 1 unit and a 97 on the 2nd unit. Well, there are 2 things happening. There's a primary unit that controls both of them, okay? And that secondary unit that has 97, that has nothing to do with it. That 97, 96, 95 has nothing to do with the temperature of the water. The primary one shows the temperature of the water.
I only have one way of telling what the temperature of the water is, and that's if I freeze my butt off when I get in it. Seriously, I've been in that
Correct.
pool house once.
Correct.
Once. And
Correct.
that's it in my 3 years here, once. That, but, you know, it didn't, I came over here last year, the week before Christmas, and people were around the pool saying, God, the water's so cold, it's so cold. And I said, it's 86. And they said, oh, heck, no, it is not 86. And I put my foot in and I couldn't believe it was cold. Now, could I tell you whether it was 84 or 82 or 78 or 70, whatever it was? I couldn't. Susie's in there every day. She says she could. I believe her. But I could tell you that it wasn't where it was supposed to be. And, you know, just, and we need to start. So I appreciate your hard work and your research on that, Santina. And I, for one, am all for it. Anything, now Richard wanted to say something about the clubhouse, but Santina, did you have anything you wanted? That's what that thing is in your hand. Susie.
Got it, I got it. I got it, I got it. All right, Susie, 140C. For your checklist for the future, the white rim around the pool needs to be either patched or repaired and
Are you
painted.
talking about the coping around the pool?
Yes.
Didn't we just get that painted last year?
Yes, but
And-
if you really look at it, it's
Mhm.
breaking, pieces are breaking off of it, and there's marks all over it. It needs to be
Okay,
refreshed.
I will definitely
And
take a look at
please
it.
tell the guys that are doing the cleaning of the blue tiles to clean
Yes,
all the blue tiles.
I have already done that.
Oh, my
I had
goodness.
already,
I've been after this for years.
I have examined the blue tiles and the actual film that is attached to that, attaching itself to that is coming from, believe it or not, body oils,
I know where it's
such
coming
as
from.
suntan
Yes,
lotion.
but they should
stuff-
clean it every week.
They absolutely
And
should
Section
clean
2
it.
does it, and they do a good job, whoever's doing section 2.
And I am more than you would like them to clean it 3 times a week because it's part of your maintenance package. You don't clean it when it's dirty. You clean it all the time. Right. You clean it all the time so it doesn't get dirty. That's how I feel. And I'm definitely going to talk to Bill about it so that when he comes back from his vacation and takes over, that he will address that and have them clean it 3 times a week.
And we have a pool contract negotiation coming up with somebody, and that should all be part of that conversation. But we're going to try and move this on a little bit to the clubhouse and ask first, Santina, do you have anything you wanted to update us on about happening in the clubhouse?
The only thing is,
Question on the pool.
I
please.
really would like to use the pool table more. And if anybody is interested in getting like a games together in the middle of the week, maybe a Wednesday night or something, we can get some teams together and start using one of these great amenities that we have here because I, for one, like to play pool. So if there's anybody else around who would enjoy doing that,
Hold on.
Tim, there you go, babe. I would love to do that. So just give me a holler and
Yeah, we have a social committee
Holla.
that really
Yes.
should funnel through and work with them, but definitely we want to make sure that they're the ones that'll tell, well, you may be even on
absolutely,
it, are
I'm
you?
on it. I
So-
just want to see if anybody is interested or if it's just me.
Yeah.
You know, if if I could say, yeah,
No,
we
the
have
cards
10
are coming back too. That the cards will be something that
right.
Richard can tell you what days they typically have the clubhouse reserved for. But what? Wednesday's a free day, so great.
So if
So it sounds
anybody
right.
is interested and we should pursue the pool room and getting a team together for playing, just let me know. And then when I'm on the committee, I will bring it forward. But let me just see if there's any interest in it at all first. And about the clubhouse, I think that's about it.
Okay, Richard, did you have?
Yeah,
something?
I had a call from Janine saying that they wanted to do the floor, to really clean this floor, and it may have to be buffed, not just buffed and waxed. It may have to be stripped. So I did make arrangements with the gentleman who has done it for the past 3 years, and he was the least expensive, and he did the best job. Because we had gone out and I had 3 or 4 people come in, and they put patches down of what they were going to do, and his patch was the best around. The next guy came out, covered 90% of his patch because he didn't like the first guy's patch, but it was good. So on Tuesday at approximately 9:30, they'll be in here doing the stripping of the floor and waxing it. And generally that'll last till maybe 4 o'clock. It depends on when they finish. The thing I'll have to find out is if they're going to do porch at this time. And in the past, what he has done, if we've had all the furniture out there, he's waited, he come back and did that separately. But if we don't have a problem with weather, maybe while he's here, he can do the whole thing at one time.
Thanks, Richard. It's not a cheap thing. You know, we're talking about almost $1,000 to do this. And I know nothing about this, so I'm just talking out of my ears here, but it just seems to be like last year we did it and we ended up a month later because of traffic, right? Last year we did the floors. We did them twice last year. Twice. Not stripping.
last year.
Yeah, twice. We had him come in and do, maybe we didn't have him stripped, but he came in and he washed and waxed the floors, and he did them twice because there was a back. No, I think
No.
it was last year.
No,
So I could be wrong.
2019.
So they haven't, so the floors haven't been done since 2019?
2019, he came in, I think he did come in February, but
I
he
just
only,
looked at the bills. I think
Yeah.
there were $800 or $850 spent in 2021.
the one in 19, no, we had nothing here. This, for 21, we have nothing. He has never come in and done anything. We had the
Okay,
ladies here.
So I would no sense in use, we'll find out what happened. My comment remains somewhat the same, and that is that it's a very expensive thing, almost $1,000. And, you did that 3 years ago with a couple of companies. I'd like us to get a couple of other bids for the next time. Bring him in this time because it's time related, and let's bring in a couple of other people and get some price. The next time we're going to do it, let's plan for it and let's get it done, with a few. All right. Tim, did you have a question about the pools?
Yes, thank you. Tim from 242D. My question is in reference to the pool pump house building. Is there an issue, and can you update us? Also, second, the railing on the pond side, the fence around the pond, okay? It would be nice if it matched the front by the road, or I know it's falling apart, so we need to address that issue. Thank you.
Who wants to be first? Santina?
I just wanted to say that thank you very much for bringing that up. It was one of my issues that we discussed on the list in the budget committee as a priority, which is repairing that fence that faces the lake. We understand that it's damaged. One of the gates is broken. You can't even open it. That is a big priority, and it has already been submitted. It will be submitted with our recommendations to the board, along with some other areas of the pool that need, I'm going to use the word refreshing.
Absolutely. I went over, I don't know if
Refreshing and
anybody's gone by
replacing.
section 2 since they did their work on section 2, but it looks lovely. And if you get inside that fence enclosure, they planted grass where we have the rocks and such. And guy comes in and does a quick mow of them, takes their tech guy 2 seconds a week. He does it. And it really looks beautiful. The black fence is nice. It's very secure. It looks lovely. So that's been on the priority list for the
Years.
3 years that I've been
Yes.
here. And we started the priority list 3 years ago when I was the treasurer for the first time. And it's been on there every year since. So, hopefully it's moving towards the top of the priority list as something that needs to get done. As for the other issue, which was the pool house, we are actively, Richard, you're going to talk about this? Oh, I'm sorry, your deck. Dave, we're gonna, you want to make some comments about the work or review you're doing? On the new business? Right, go just talk about it now. Let's get it done. while
We'll
we're
get it
here.
over with. That's. Then I'll make it quick. I'm sure I'll have a lot of questions about this. So I'm going to be looking into the buildings, the pool shed, if you want to call it that, to see what's going to cost to rebuild it, because it's just, I guess there's infestation, termites. Thank you. That's just eating away at it. So that's something else I'm also looking into, along with my other duties.
Yeah, we believe we have, this is one of those things where as you come to the end of the year, we now have 1/4 of the year left as of October 1st, right? And so you have a real good idea when you build a budget, you try to build it for all the reasonable things that happen on it, over the course of a year. And you get towards the end of the year, you now get to see sort of where you got lucky and something didn't fall apart that you thought was going to have to be replaced, and where you got surprised by some stuff. And you see if there's monies that you plan, say, to expend on something that didn't occur, and that money becomes money that the board then can look at to do some of those other things. And on the top of the list for the other things was the dock, because it's a safety issue, and the pool
Pool shed.
house or the
Pool
pool
house, yeah.
shed, because it's rotten to the core and it's just take a good wind to knock it down. And that's a very lucky, one of those things that hasn't happened and we've been very lucky, won't last forever. So Richard is working on, and he'll speak shortly about his up-to-dates on the deck of the dock. And deck dock Dave, and Dave is looking at the pool shed, whether we just buy a cap and put it on there, a pre-made, or whether we build it ourselves,
build it
or
from
whether we
scratch.
hire somebody to build something for us. But we believe, and tell me if I'm speaking out of school, we believe from a financial perspective that given what we know so far, those two things should be able to be done within the operational budget. It's not sure yet because we don't have definitives yet and we still have 3 months to go, but that's what we're looking at doing. So there's no extra spending. What termites?
Are the termites that ate the shed being taken care of?
This has been in the past, so I gotta get used to this. We've had issues in the past, and as of now, the termites are okay. They're not eating. There's no termites.
So they treat them, but the damage is already done.
That's just something that's got to be rebuilt. And
The pool and clubhouse?
Well, I just want to say something about the fencing. When we looked into the fencing several years ago, 3 companies had recommended the cyclone fencing, just like section 2, and not using the white fence out front here because of the iguanas. And that was 3 or 4 years ago. And this is what they recommended, the cyclone fence. And it comes in colors.
He just happened to have one.
Yeah,
John.
well, they gave it, they gave it to us, and I made a presentation back then, and then it was shot down. So it was, in fact, I didn't know. I showed it to Janine last week, wasn't it, Janine? I think it was last week. So, but this was a sample that one of the companies gave me, and they held on to the price for 3 years. They held the price for 3 years. It was close to $5,000. I've forgotten now. I think it was $5,000 of Fritz Massey, who did all the other work, and the other 2 companies were $8,000 and $9,000 just to do that back portion. And Fritz Massey held the price for 3 years. I did it the 1 year. We didn't do anything. The next year they said, okay, we'll hold it. And the next year they said, we'll hold it. And it just dropped. So, okay, that's it for the fencing. Can I go to the docks now?
Dime on whoever it is
Yes.
that you wanted to drop a dime on. Let me just say to you, straight up eyeball to eyeball, nobody ever showed me that piece of fence. Nobody ever showed me an estimate or a quote for $5,000 for replacing that fence. And I was the treasurer the first year,
No.
3 years ago. And that was when we came up with the priority list. And I know because the same people are on that committee today, by and large, as we're on it 3 years ago. And the fence issue came up, and that stuff was put on the back burner well before 3 years ago. So I
Yeah,
just want to be
it was
clear.
before that.
I
was well
just want to
before
be
that.
clear. We don't need to be dropping dimes on people about who did what and who shot what down. Which we're working with a list of 30 plus priorities for this community. And we have also not had an increase in our HOA assessments for a couple of years. And we've tried to manage that and still get things fixed. I, for one, call me biased, think we've done a pretty okay job with what we've had. Now the time may be coming to look at doing the fence, and we may need more money in our budget to do some of these other things that are coming up, because we're talking about 18,000 for a pool, redo, and we got Anybody seen their electricity bills recently going up and their food bills and their gas bills? Same thing's happening to us as a community too. So let's try to get the stuff we can get done with the money we have. We'll do the best we can, and we will try to get to this. Richard, I know, has worked for the last 30 years on the best interests of this community. And he has recommended and researched and advocated for a million things that people have gone, yeah, maybe next year. Yeah, maybe next year. So I don't blame him for carrying a little bit out of that stuff out there and carrying around his piece of fence with him 3 years after he was shot down. But I just want to make sure, we're all doing the best we can, and we're trying to watch your money and how it's spent to the best of our ability. Jerry?
That
Yeah,
Jerry Gigliotti, 172A. That fencing was brought before the Women's Club 4 or 5 years ago. So it wasn't 3 years ago when you were president. It was 4 or 5 years ago. We had the money and Dwight shot it down. He said, we do not need a fencing. And that happened back then.
I'm going to stop you and say that we're not dropping a dime on people who are here or people who aren't here. I don't know anything about that, but if it was 4 or 5 years ago, it's so way under the bridge at this point. There's no need to go back and find somebody else to beat up over a 5-year-old problem. Let's move on to do some solutions-oriented stuff.
Yeah.
Richard, did you have
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to say about the?
No,
this or the
that's
club?
all. I'd like to move on, but I think, everybody here may not have been around 4 or 5 years ago, and it was brought up and it was researched and there were things that happened. So I'd like to move on to the doc, okay?
And I'd like to say, what difference does it make? It's
Yeah.
still a problem. We need to fix it now.
Yeah, it has to be fixed. It should have fixed to go, but okay, we're moving on to the doc. We went through, my wife went into the computer and brought up a number of people that would repair or replace, build. So I set them out. I started calling them. Anybody that had a report of a 5 or better, okay? And that was the 5 was the highest. So I called something like 14, 15 people, and I only got to talk to 2. Only 2 would come back to me. Okay, so I made some more calls, and then I started getting, what type of a dock is it? Is it a floating dock? Is it a sightseeing dock? And I'd say, no, it's a floating, it's a sightseeing dock on concrete pillars. Oh, we only do floating docks. And I have a strong feeling that if I said it's a floating dock, it said to me, we only do sightseeing docks. So, but I don't know. So finally I talked to 2 of the local contractors in the area. One is going to look into it, okay? I had one fellow come out on Wednesday. He came out on Wednesday and looked at it. He's not keen on writing up all the RFP information, okay? He will call me or he will write down what he wants to do and how much it's going to cost. I had a call yesterday from another company. When my wife did this on the computer, she went into the home advocacy or whatever it is, Home Advisor. 2 people got our information from Home Advisor. So the fellow that called me yesterday, I called him this morning and he's coming out on Monday. And he heard through Home Advisor. One more heard from Home Advisor, but I haven't been able to get back to him. So we're looking at doing the dock. All right. Right, okay. I was just going to do that. There are 4 things that we're looking at, okay? Number 1 is replacing all of the broken timbers on the deck. Okay, all the ones that are rotted out, replacing them and replacing anything else that needs to be done. Power washing the whole deck then, because there'll be certain pressure treated materials put in there. Everything will have to be power washed and repainted from the pilings up. Okay, and also, if you haven't been out to the dock recently, to enter, there's a big gap of about 1.5 feet that there's nothing in there. It needs a ramp. So I included that into the specs, okay, to rebuild this ramp. So that's one, with pressure treated wood, just replacing those items that are bad. Number two is to replace the whole deck with pressure treated wood, okay? Number three was to replace everything on the deck with a composite, a Trek, Fiberson, Fibron, any of those kinds of materials, okay? But I have found that there is a negative aspect of using a composite, because we have 24-inch centers out there, and the composites may warp for 24-inch centers to where their centers where they're nailed every 24 inches. So they said if they're going to use a composite, they may have to put another brace in there. So that's going to take the price up. So that was number three. Number four was I had gotten some information about an aluminum dock. Okay. But the negativity that I've been able to find out on negative docks is, number one, the heat. Okay. The heat is really bad. And number two is if there's a lightning strike in the ground a mile away, it can come over here and still affect that. Put a, yeah, so they're the four things that we're looking for. But many of the ones that I talked to, and some that wouldn't get back to me, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, even the guy the other day, he said, you know, I'll write you something up. He said, but I'm not going to do a closed bid and all this other stuff. So,
Well,
so we'll see
we'll
what
have to
happens.
decide whether that's his call
Right.
or not.
Right.
I'm happy to help anybody who needs to write an RFP to do it, and all they have to do is answer the questions. Like, do you have a license? Yes, give us a copy. Do you have insurance? Yes, give us a copy. Other than that, they have to, the bid tells them what it is specifically we want done, what it includes and what it doesn't. They don't have to write almost anything. They just have to say, this is what the materials that I'll use, just like he would on his quote. So I'm happy to put, you know, a draft together, and then you can look at it and go from there. But, you know, we are spending a lot of money on things, and it's important that we follow a process that makes sure that we're getting exactly what we asked for, that we're not assuming that somebody's going to come in and finish something that we thought they were going to, and then they say, oh no, that wasn't in the bid. You know, I mean, we need to have some documented stuff here, and we need to be able to do apples to apples.
And yeah, and that would happen. I would make certain that would definitely happen, especially if they don't want to comply with whatever we're doing. So, but I would make sure that would happen, apples for apples and peaches for peaches and pears for pears.
Do that in writing so that we have a place to fall back on, and not, you know, someone broke their promise, their verbal promise and all that stuff. We need to make sure of it. I don't care what the paper looks like, but it's got to be the same as everybody else's.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't go with just verbiage, especially down here in Florida. You know, down here in Florida, all they want to do is take your money and may never finish a job. So,
All right, we need to move it along
Can
here.
I just say something
Sales
real
and
quick about the dock? I'm sorry.
sure.
I just want to say that if you're looking at this project, once you understand that the pilings and the joists that are holding up the deck are secure enough for replacement, the next process should be picking out the material in your budget that you feel is appropriate, that fits in and will definitely serve the needs of the community. So you could knock out the aluminum, you could knock out the Trek decking, you could look into bamboo decking, but when you go and get a price and an RFP bid, you should already know if the structure of the dock is secure enough for replacement, what the entire cost will be to maintain the product and the material that you use to replace the deck, and go forward from there. So it's a lot more than just saying, give me a bid, because you don't know what material. You should pick the material as the owner of the dock and say, if our joists and pilings are secure enough for replacement of the top railing and the deck bottom, then you know what you're sending your bid out for. And that's all I'm saying, that we need to find out how secure. And the only other thing I would like to say is that when we do replace the spread dock, we have to perhaps think about changing the color, because that brick red is definitely out of style, old. It's horrible, and it makes the dock look even worse. So you like that color? A rainbow colors. That's all I got to say about the dock.
Hold on. Bonnie in the back, please.
Yeah, Bonnie Ryan, 122C.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Do you need that dock? It has not been used for the last 7 years. Or taking it down. Is there a reason why we have it? Iguanas need it, or the pigeons.
Yeah, so we've had the conversation around this table a number of times, and I don't think we've had a vote on it, but I think we've had a conversation that says it's a nice amenity. It sort of there's a synergy to the match with across the way there with the section 2, and frankly, it is. You know, maybe if it was a little bit nicer and looked a little nicer, maybe more people would actually use it, because it looks to me to just, it's almost like an old red barn out there, you know, no, it just doesn't make it. But it could be a nice amenity. There have been some people who have said, you know, maybe that's where the tiki bar goes. You know, but sorry. Yes, we do need a tiki bar, Susie, but that's another conversation. So but there's a number of conversations, but that's why Richard is looking into those right now. That's why he's looking at the various materials to make that kind of a recommendation to us that this is where we should go. But we do need to make those decisions and have that documented, not just go with the lowest price with the easiest to do. Let's do it right. Let's get it documented. Let's get what we want. And if we can't afford it, then we can pare back to where we can afford it. But let's first say, what do we want? Okay. So I haven't talked about my lawns and gardens. We haven't talked about sales. We haven't talked about strategy.
Barbara.
A motion to accept the pool and clubhouse update.
I'd like to make I'd like to make a motion to accept the pool and Santina and Richard's recommendations or whatever for the pool and clubhouse.
Thank you. Second by Janine. May I have all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I just like to make one more comment, okay? I don't know who's doing it. If there are iguanas on the dock, I will go out there and check and look and see, and people are throwing stones from the pool to get the iguanas off the dock. Monday, I went out there. I picked up over a dozen stones that people had thrown out there. So if you talk to you and tell them not to go out there and throw stones.
We have the interview. Is it? Oh, it was on last Monday? So it's not sold yet? Yeah, okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second
All
that.
right. Richard
Using the
makes a motion
microphone.
to accept. Dave seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Lawns and gardens. What? Yeah, I saved it for last. Yeah. 'Cause I just want to make sure I could talk enough. You know? All right. So we have lawns and gardens, and we have the strategy and cultural planning. So we have two pieces left before we get to some of the other business, and we really do to sort of focus it in here. So lawns and gardens, and all I'm going to tell you is we are doing formal RFPs. We received 5. Our request date deadline was on the 14th at 5 p.m. We received 5. Those RFPs are, some people are doing parts of lawns and gardens, and some of them are all inclusive of lawns and gardens. So when I say lawns and gardens, I mean Big Al's work, plus the Zimmerman work on the trees, plus the True Green work on the lawns and the gardens, and plus any other pesticide, fertilized, whatever pieces, and there's tree replacement and that kind of stuff. So we bid out the whole thing, but we also told contractors that they could bid parts of it because we weren't sure we would get someone who could afford to do all of that, including irrigation too, by the way. So it's a big piece, but you may be surprised to know when you look at it, we spend an enormous amount of money when you put all those things together as pieces on trying to make this place work. I'm not a lawn and garden person. I got this because of unforeseen circumstances. And so for me, and I suspect that's going to happen over, and probably has over a period of time, that people get these responsibilities. To have that enormous a role and not have one person to go to that says, okay, you're my lawn and garden guy. Let's talk about the trees. How come we haven't done the olive trees yet? How come there's, white flies in the bushes over here? What are we doing about the iguanas? Whatever. I really, as best we can, that's my focus. We've done a first pass. Myself and the finance committee have done a first pass of those 5 bids, and I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to be able to get something done here that's going to make it a better process than last year. I don't want to get into any details, but we've got a lot more work to do on that because that's very comprehensive, as you can imagine. That's a lot of stuff to have to try and weave together, but I'm very excited about it.
We're new here, and a month after we bought our property at 370B, the palm tree got blown over, the top got pulled off. Somebody looked at it and said it had this fungus disease. I was checking the roots and everything like that, and I called University of Florida and so forth. I'm not 100% sure it was the fungus disease. I was told that several other property owners were also waiting for replacement palm trees. And I was wondering, does it have to be palm trees, or is that in the bid that these trees should be replaced? Is that the homeowners association responsibility for the front? I know we paid for a tree in our back, but I
Right.
thought the front was the homeowners. And I
So-
just want to know.
So the front, the 2 primary trees that were originally out there, palm trees, are the association's responsibility. And I would be the first one. I think there's a number of people in this room who could say that over the last month or month and a half, I've been saying we need a strategy, because when we take trees out, those palm trees out, if it's Panoderma, that's the cause of it, and those mushrooms are the primary way you know that disease is in place, you cannot put another palm tree in that hole. Not unless you dig down about 6 or 8 feet and really clear out all the ways around it and clear it all out, and you're still taking a risk. So they suggest strongly that you not put a palm tree there, that you put something else. And over the course of time, for whatever the reasons are, it appears to me that nobody has ever made that decision. Okay, we're going to take palm trees out. So what are we going to put in their place? Sometimes residents go out there and they plant their own stuff. Sometimes various people on the board have gone out and put something in there. And a lot of times it's just a hole in the ground where a tree used to live. And so as part of next year, we need to be thinking about that. I haven't presented to the budget committee yet for lawns and gardens, but that is a primary subject that I want to talk about, making sure that there's money in there. For a tree and tree replacement, we would pick the trees, they would put them in if we include that into the bid and if they include it into the bid. So everybody's bidding. You know, we have a couple of all inclusive, and then we have some people that do 90% or 80%, whatever. So but that's my goal for next year, is to establish what's going to go out there and how we're going to go about doing that. Remember that we all have to be careful what we ask for, because if we're going to say we want uniformity and we want to have certain things in place of the palm trees in there, there's stuff out there that's going to come out that somebody's put in there that's been planted there for a long time. That's, you know, if we're going to do this, it's all going to, you know, it's going to be implemented, and some of that stuff's going to come out. So, but we'll talk about that. There'll be other people besides me involved, because I don't know one bush from another and one plant from another, in terms of, certainly not in Florida, but there's lots of people in this community that do. And so I'm looking forward to getting some help from people here to help me do that. But that's for next year. So that's it for me for lawns and gardens. If there's other comments, hold on. Yeah, Jerry?
At the budget committee, I brought that up, that many of the trees have not been replaced. At the budget committee, I was told that because so many trees have been planted here, but they are planted by private individuals. That was my complaint. They said that's still a tree planted, and that takes the place of those trees that should have been replaced. And I totally disagreed with them, but of course I was shot down. And I was told those trees that everyone planted in their backyard, those little palm trees, took the place of the big trees that should have been replaced somehow in front of the condos. And that's what you're saying. We're going to look into it. So I think you better, it would be wise if you could get with your committee people, the board, to notify them that those trees will be replaced. And those little trees have nothing to do with the trees that should be replaced in front of the units.
Oh, no. What I'm going to say is thank you, Jerry. I heard about this issue. My point is that in the new year, I haven't presented to the budget committee yet, so I don't know what's been talked about specifically and what hasn't. But it sounds to me, number one, we're on the same track, and that's a good thing. You want something planted in those holes, and I do too. And how we count trees and where we count them, we will get clarity on that as part of the process. And it's not going to be about who's right and who's wrong. It's going to be what's the reality according to what we're required to do as a minimum by the city and the state. And after that, we can put all the trees in, I hope, that we want, but we will get clarity on what the rules of the game are, and then we'll operate within those rules with people from the community. The one thing I will say is that we've had a couple of blips on this in the last month or two. I want to make it extremely clear to everyone who lives here that if you're planting stuff around your yard, you are required to get pre-approval by the board. Dave heads that up. He's working with Barbara Kowalski, who has a better understanding than I do, certainly, of plants and shrubs. And they're going to be, there are restrictions on what can go out there. And we're all going to follow that stuff. And if someone either doesn't get pre-approval or is told they can't plant and plants anyways, that stuff's coming up. Now, if you have something in the ground that we would prefer isn't in there, but you've been in there for a year or 2 or 5 or 32, we're going to have a conversation. We're not going out there with chainsaws and starting to cut up people's yards. You know, we're just not going to do that. We don't own this place. We do. The board doesn't own it. The people who work here don't own it. We do. Dave, how much of this place do you own? 248th, right? That's exactly right. That's the same as every single one of you people. So this is going to be a community process, and we're going to go forward. Anybody who knows plants, who's interested in that, has ideas about what we could do out there, you know, when we do it, we'll communicate it, and we'll welcome your input and involvement.
All the new stuff, when I'm done with it, will be up in the slots over here. Well, when Barbara and I are done talking. And anybody that has any input, feel free to come to me and we'll discuss it and go from there.
Anything else in lawns and gardens?
Lynn, I just wanted to make a suggestion, getting back to the 2 palm trees, because that's where the conversation started, that are in the front of the buildings. Yes, there is this disease going around. You're absolutely correct about it. And I'm just suggesting that whoever's in charge, like of lawns and gardens, when one of these palm trees is removed because of disease, that we should keep some kind of a spreadsheet so we know what year the tree got diseased, what year the tree got removed. And then this way, when we build a strategy to replace these trees, we will know when the surrounding soil is acceptable for new birth.
It's a great idea.
Yeah,
I got it.
that
got
would
it.
be great. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right.
And also,
can I get a
would like to
motion
be
to-
put on the, Janet,
Tim?
over here.
Oh,
I would like my name to be put on there. I would like to maybe contact a university around that can help us choose trees. I don't even think they checked my tree when they took it out. Oh, it's probably that. I was like, what are you looking at? Nobody really knew for 100%. I don't think.
It's possible. I'm not taking names right now because this is something I'm going to present as part of my, requires for funding for next year. But we'll let people know, and you'll all have an opportunity to raise your hands to participate. But we're very, very cautious about taking out palm trees in this state and in this city. The removal of a palm tree is not done vicariously. And if we were to be found to be removing trees without having a knowledgeable person say that tree has, for instance, a panoderma, we would have a real problem on our hands. And it's just different here than it is in where I grew up, certainly, in terms of that I could cut down anything. I could cut down everything, including, half my house if I wanted to, and nobody would tell me what I could do or not. But that's different here, especially with palm trees. Just that said, Tim, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, working around the gardens and stuff like that, I have noticed that there are seedlings that are coming up in the gardens next to the foundations and stuff like that, the plantings. Seedlings from the berries, from the palm trees and everything like that. They're going to be removed. It's a good idea because they're weeds and they're going to grow up into the buildings. I don't know if we have an issue with that or not.
Well, we'll make a decision. We'll make a decision as the director of lawns and gardens, but
And
you're
we'll
my
remove 'em.
right-hand guy, and you and Patrick are my two right-handed people. I'm kind of lucky out there. Those are the kind of things that when you bring those things to me, we're going to have a conversation. You're the expert. I'm the director, and we'll make that decision together. My concern is about when that gets to be taken on a broader scale and people start getting chainsaw massacre in mind. And that's happened not you, but it's happened a couple of times in this community when somebody wasn't looking, and that's not right. It's not right. We may have disagreements on what belongs and what doesn't belong, but if something's in the ground and it's established, we're going to have a conversation about how we're going to approach it. And if there's seedlings going around and you tell me, and I'm sure you will, I'm about 99% of the way there with you already, then I'm going to send something out to the community that says there's a seedling problem. And just so you know, Tim's going to be out there and he's going to be taking them out, and so that way everybody who lives here knows you're coming around. They know what you're doing, knows why we're doing it, and everybody's in the loop. That's all. Okay. Cool. Accept, please. Okay.
The lawns and gardens.
Richard made the motion. Can I have a second? Janine, second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Done. Okay, Barbara.
I'm going to take them separately on strategy. I really want to, we've done like Janine and I've been doing a lot of work on both the reserves and the budgets and all of that. But I really want to commend Lynn, Dave, and Santina for doing excellent jobs on the RFPs.
Thank you.
We've tried to do it in the past, but they really nailed it this year, and it has been so helpful in trying to decide on what people to pick. On the cultural, next week will be there's going to be a social meeting next week. So if those who are on the committee, if you would just look at your calendars, and we'll try to pick something for that most of us can go to. That's it.
Can we, I'd like to ask that at the next meeting, we're in busy time, November, December with budget stuff, but I'd really like to have sort of a kickoff. I know you have some subcommittees together. If we could, maybe you could make a quick presentation, you or some people on your committee, of these are the things we're looking at. Doesn't have to be all done, but this is the direction we're going in. And here's some of the things we're going to focus on for year one.
And it's a good time for me to bring this up too then. One of the subcommittees is for having a welcome party every quarter, I think, or every other month or something like that, every quarter, for new people and anybody else who wants to come, to welcome them. So I think maybe we'll going to try to start that maybe like in December.
We might have to have something to sell in order to have new people coming in.
No, well, look at all the people that have
I know,
come over the last
but
period
you
of time.
can't have it quarterly if
no,
there's
no,
nobody buying the
No.
house.
But yeah, I mean,
It's a wonderful one to kick off, and then we'll
Right.
just see if we
need
have
one.
enough people to come.
If we don't sell anything for 2 years, we won't have to worry about it.
Everybody's so happy they're not selling their house. I like it.
I like it.
Price values have
And
gone
that's
up
all I have to say.
significantly too.
I'll second it.
Yes. Is Blue Stream. Blue Stream has been in, we as a committee met with them and presented our alternative proposal to theirs, which was very well done. I think we talked about it the last time in more depth, so I don't need to go into it all, but Richard's worked very hard, as have Janine and Dave and Barbara and myself, in trying to really make sure that we have a deal going forward. Last meeting, the board approved going forward in the negotiations. They've made a counter proposal as of the end of last week. I've been gone for the last 5 days, working days, so they're all working days. So maybe the last 7 days I've been gone. So we're going to get together, I hope, on Monday to counter their counter to our counter. But we're starting, it's fun. We're negotiating, but we're looking to get every penny, option, advantage, detail that we can get for us. And they're parsing them out slowly and painfully, but we've made progress. Would you say, Richard, we've made progress, right? So yeah, well, we have 3 years left. This would convert that and extend it. So we went through a fairly detailed last time about this because it's all around the fiber optics. But right now, there are some, I think, some exciting, positive options on the table that we're trying to take the most advantage of for us. So more to come on that, but that's the level. Anybody have any other things on Blue Stream you want to throw on the table? Excellent. Moving on. New business, RFPs, door replacement. We did fascia. We did iguana control. It's so, it's amazing trying to handle this issue. I actually spoke at length with an iguana guy yesterday. What? Huh? An iguana guy. Oh, with an iguana. Yeah. With an iguana hunter. I spoke at length with him. I've spoken with a lot of people who do this, and have spoken at length with someone yesterday at the, there was an expo in West Palm that some of us went to. And, ladies and gentlemen, iguanas are here to stay. They aren't going anywhere. We are never going to hire anyone who's going to wipe out the iguana population. The guys was very nice to give me all the gory details about the mating habits and the breeding habits of iguanas yesterday, but suffice it to say that they make hundreds of babies every year. Every one of them make hundreds of babies every year. And so there are a couple of things that we need to focus on going forward. One is to make sure that we are not planting and by planting, encouraging iguanas to make Section 1 their primary home. And that is about habitat, what the kind of trees we have. It's about food. It's about plants. It's about human habits. It's all of that stuff. So that's one whole piece that needs to be done. And then the other piece is killing them. We're not trapping them. We are not poisoning them. We're not doing any of that stuff. It's either not allowed, it's not legal, or it's just the cost of having people just to empty traps and rebait traps at the amount of iguanas we have. It doesn't make any sense. So what we do is we kill them. We shoot them. And I'm happy to say that we have now discovered several people. One is a resident in the community, and 2 others are people who run businesses who are interested in hunting iguanas on our property. And I haven't talked to all of them, but at least 2 of them are they charge you by the tail. So there's a price that you get for the large iguanas, and there's a price that you get for the medium-sized iguanas. They don't play, well, yeah, sort of the same thing. I mean, they do it by the feet. So, that's good news. It is a growing, a business. I have someone coming this Saturday. He was supposed to come last Saturday and unfortunately did not. He's coming this Saturday. I'm going to circle back with the resident and have a conversation with him about terms, because I just don't want everybody out there at the same time, and I don't want people thinking they live on our shooting gallery. They don't use bullets, by the way. They use their air guns, air pellets. And so they're not using bullets or any of that. They all wear reflective vests that show that who they are. And in the past, what we've done is I've let the neighborhood know the night before. Sometimes I walk around and I knock on doors, and sometimes I send out an email to people that says, just so you know, iguana hunters are coming and they're going to be on the canal, or they're going to be in the back of 110, 112, 122, that area, whichever side it is. And that seems to have been okay. People have been very positive about it. But we haven't really started on the other piece, which is you know, your favorite hibiscus, your favorite clematis, your favorite your bougainvilleas and all of those things, you might as well be putting hot fudge sundaes out for a chocolate addict because they love those things and that's where they're going and that's what they want to eat. So, but that's part of the conversation around planting around the buildings. So that's where we are with iguanas. We are actively seeking bids and prices from people to do it. And that's where we are. Gladys, did you have a comment?
I just want to let you know that the iguanas know when the shooter is here.
That's right.
They can tell by their jacket that they wear. They shoot right up the trees, hundreds of them.
Well, so now they try to get the, you know, and that's why those guys get paid by the hour. Those guys that you had before were getting paid by the hour. So they don't care if they traipse up and down and they disturb and they all run and hide away and they're here for 2 hours and they only get one, because that's just good reason for them to come back again. All right. These guys who get charged by the tail, they are far more experienced marksmen, and they're shooting them on the banks from 40 to 50 or 60 feet anyways away. And they know that you can't shoot for more than a few minutes in one section of the canal before you have to go to another part of the property because you've got all these other ones that have run and hid, and it's going to take them an hour or two to get back. So we're not looking for large numbers. These guys do not come in and walk out of here with 30 or 40 iguanas typically. You get a few of the big boys, the big bad, you know, big baby makers, I like to call them, get the big baby makers out of here, and they'll get a couple of the small, medium ones, and then they come back. And they come back because, you know, that's where they're getting their money from. Jerry had a comment.
Did I, pardon me, did I understand you right? You're thinking of getting a resident to possibly eliminate some of the iguanas? Did I understand that?
Yes, you did. I have,
Okay.
there are several other sections in here who have identified residents who are legally licensed to carry weaponry and who are willing to volunteer to take out iguanas. I have not gone that direction myself just because, you know, you want to be sure you can control that kind of thing. But yes, I am talking to at least one resident who would be interested in walking the canal and taking some of them out.
Okay. Frankly, I'm totally against that, and I'll tell you why. If that person who is a resident happens to shoot one of those guns and it hits a window or person accidentally, or something happens to a property here, and that resident can sue. So wait a minute.
Yeah,
So
there
I
are
think
issues
you're
with it. I
being,
get
I
you. There's
think
issues.
you're being penny wise and dollar foolish, because a resident should not be permitted to do any shooting on our property because you're concerned about insurance and this and that. Well, guess what? We could be sued, and I don't think any of us want to have that happen. So if you
Thank you.
hire a regular business to do this, I'm sure you've investigated and they are insured to take over, and they'll be, not that they're going to be more careful, but they will have the insurance should anything happen.
Thank
But
you.
as far as our people, I totally disagree that we should have that.
Thank you for sharing. Who's next?
I just wanted two questions. I don't know the answer to this, but I thought we did have an iguana control under happening around here, and
Well,
that was true.
Yeah, so we had a company that we shared with Section 2.
Okay,
And Section 2 would pay half the year and we would pay half the year, and they primarily walked the canal. And they usually came once a month and they walked the canal and they took out what they could. They were paid by the hour. So the genesis was that company got bought by another company who didn't want to do iguanas. They're rodent control.
okay.
They didn't want to do iguanas. They had one guy still left that would do the iguanas. And so we sat with him, section 1 and 2 sat with him, and we discussed the problem. And, he made his recommendations, and we agreed. And unbeknownst to me, section 2 sometime last spring decided that they didn't think he was worth it and decided to let him go. And so we were without anyone. I started to get some calls about up on the upper corner near Atlantic with problems up there. So I called the guy and had him come by one more time to go out behind there and take some out. And he, came once or twice and he took a few out, but it wasn't, again,
Right.
paying him by the hour rather than by the tail. Really, it's a crapshoot as to whether you're going to get them or not.
That's my
So,
next question.
Right. So that's why paying by the tail is in my opinion, is a
Absolutely.
better way to go about it, because they then have to show you
How many they
the
got?
kill.
Right.
that
And
was
somebody
my
has to make a
question.
determination, is that in the definition of large versus the medium? And we don't pay for less than medium, we pay for large and bigger than,
I agree
large
with
and
that,
medium.
yes.
My question
And so that
is-
was, to me,
right.
that was the appropriate way. So the people that I'm talking to right now, the ones that I have already talked to are by the tail. And I just haven't finished talking to everybody, but we'll make sure that whomever it is covered. And of course, I wouldn't bring anybody onto the property or allow anybody to do anything like that without first checking with my insurance company as to what the liabilities would be in that particular circumstance. However, as Richard would tell you, this is Florida. If you think you're going to find a billion people walking around with licenses to shoot iguanas that have company insurance, you'd be looking a long time. Mostly what you're going to get is some folks that have the ability to do it and they want them. They're not in here shooting willy-nilly. They want the iguanas themselves, because after I pay them, $25 for a big one, he's probably going to take it and sell it to his cousin for the barbecue for next week. Well, iguana tail meat goes for $60 a pound. 60 bucks a pound. Yeah. So we're working on it. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate your concern, Jerry. We'll we'll make sure we talk to insurance folks before we have anybody in. We'll make sure who we ever have on the property has the right credentials, and you'll all know about it before anybody's here.
So
Anything
the
else?
only question I have, I know is like a disgusting one, but going by the tail, I think is a great idea. That is really the only way to do it, because when they're out there, we don't know what they're doing for an hour. They could say whatever they want. I killed 100. I killed 1. We don't know. But going by the tail, does this actually mean that after he kills this iguana, he's going to bag it, throw it in the back of his truck, and that someone in charge,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That was
Okay.
right.
Okay. Can I just pick up on what you're saying? I agree. Okay. I think it's by the tail, but I think also we should have someone there with them or standing at the truck when they come back and they say, oh, look, we just got 2. Because one of the companies many, many years ago, one of the first companies that we had here were talking about shooting anywhere from 25 to 50 a month for 1 hour a month. 1 hour a month. And between the two of us, you paid them by the hour, not by the animal. But they were saying how many they shot. So I think we need, and you're looking into
I
this.
think like in any other circumstance, when you're hiring a new vendor or a new contractor to do something, there's some oversight that's required in the beginning until you establish a level of trust. You can always, what if somebody brings in 5 big pelts with them when they come in, and then they want to charge us for the big pelts? So you have to establish a relationship. Someone has to see the kill, right? So if they're in here, you have to make an agreement. They're going to take them out? Are they going to pick them all up off the ground and bag them and then put them in their truck and you're going to count them? Or are you going to, he's going to call you and say, okay, just finished at the canal. Can you come out and do the count with me? And we walk up and down the canal and we point, pick up the ones and he picks them up and we count them as well. Those details are as yet to be determined, but they do need to be determined. And it absolutely includes getting those pelts and getting the kills out of here. That includes if they have to go fishing in the canal with a long net or something, they're going to have to be prepared to do that. Some of that's going to take some working on our part to work out those details and to make sure as we see things that we get things done. But, we'll do the best we can. Fred? What? Well, is apples? Thank you. Thanks, Fred. Thank you, Fred. We appreciate that. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, we're going to move on from there. But okay, we're moving on from there. I think we are done. Is there anything else by the board that needs to be put on the table? Anything by the community? Hearing none, I would take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Barbara Kay with Richard, would you make that a second? You make a
I'll
second?
make it a second.
All right, great. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate you coming.
Karaoke.
Just 1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2.